Hello, young active writers and parents. Today, I would like to talk about the best ways to implement research into articles and stories. I have an example from 10-year-old Emma. She went to a Mexican garment exhibition at her city's museum. She prepared questions for the volunteer guide at the museum and wrote a story about the experience. Here is a part of the first draft of the story. In Mexico, a lot of things are handmade. They use a variety of materials like silk. On some garments, there was a symbol of an eagle on a cactus holding a snake in its beak. Weather is also an important factor. Temperatures vary everywhere, so not all their clothing are the same. The museum volunteer also showed us how they use dyes in Mexico. This is a typical listing random fact syndrome in kids' writing. It means that when they can't remember more details of a certain fact, they simply move on to the next thing they remember. The result is a story that leaves the reader very unsatisfied because of the lack of details in each of the things described. For example, I would like to know what kind of artifacts she saw that were handmade. What are some of the other variety of materials the Mexican used in clothes besides silk? What does the symbol she discovered represent? How do temperatures vary, and how does that affect how people dress? So how can we improve this writing? Since Emma doesn't remember the details and didn't take notes at the museum, she will need to do some research on her own to get some more details. The first topic is about different types of fabrics in Mexican clothing. Let's see what kind of fabrics and materials Mexicans used in their traditional clothing. I typed Mexican garment and materials into Google. I opened the first link on Mexican clothing and found this paragraph. Traditional Mexican clothing combines native and European elements. The fibers of choice across the country are cotton, bark, and agave, which were known and used by native Mexican pre-Hispanic civilizations to make their clothes, as well as wool and silk introduced by the Spanish later. This might be a good time to teach your child about plagiarism and explain why we should not copy others' work. Let's go back to the first sentence, incorporating our research. Here are the new two first sentences. A lot of traditional Mexican clothing is handmade using materials such as cotton, bark, and agave. The Europeans also introduced wool and silk into the culture later. I think it looks much better now. Now it's your turn. Ask your child to pretend to be the editor. Your child's job is to help Emma to improve her article. Depending on your child's age, you may have different requirements and goals for this task. Step 1. Copy the first draft into a Google Doc or Microsoft Word. You can also just print it out on paper if your child is younger. If you are using Google Docs, turn on suggesting mode. If you are using Microsoft Word, turn on track changes. Step 2. Have your child look at the original and you can give them my hints from earlier. For example, what does the symbol she discovered represent? How is the temperature different, and how did the people dress differently? How did Mexicans use dyes? Ask your child to first make comments on the article, asking Emma to clarify things. Here is an image of the comments I made for Emma using Google Docs. Step 3. Tell your child that he or she will need to do some research on these questions. For example, for the symbol, your child will need to research what it is called and what does that represent. They can add their research result into the comment section or write a paragraph underneath. Step 4. For older children, they can rewrite the paragraph with information they found. Please send me a copy of your child's edit. I would love to see how they improve this paragraph. See you next time!